The text came through just as I was transferring $20,000 to my parents' account. My phone buzzed, the message short enough to slice cleanly through the silence of my apartment. This year, just your sister's family, keeping it small. I stared at it, reading it twice. The dots faded, no follow-up, no warmth. Just that. I called before I could stop myself. The line rang once, twice. Then Marian answered, her voice soft and careful, too careful. "Lena, honey, I was just about to text you." "You already did," I said, the one about keeping it small. A pause. "Oh, right. Yes. We're keeping things simple this year. Grace and the kids are coming. And you know how crowded it gets." It was never crowded. I cut in. It was me, you, Dad, Grace, her husband, 2 kids, and a dog that barks at ornaments. She laughed lightly, pretending not to hear the edge in my tone. "You've been so busy with your company. I thought maybe you'd want a quiet holiday." I didn't say that. "Well," she said, lowering her voice as if the truth might bite. "Grace has been under a lot of stress lately, and Thomas thought it would be good to keep the dinner small. Less noise. I sent you money for the catering. Remember I said, was that too noisy?" "Too." Her voice thinned. "Lena, please don't make this about money." "I'm not," I said, though I could feel my throat tighten. "I'm making it about being invited. I just assumed you'd understand." That word assumed landed harder than the rejection itself. I let the silence stretch until she filled it. Uneasy. "You can always visit after Christmas," she offered. "Maybe New Year's, once things settle?" "Sure," I said, "once the photos are posted and everyone's moved on." "Lena." "I have to go," I said, and hung up before she could smooth it over. For a while, the only sound was the low hum of the heater. The transfer confirmation pinged again on my laptop screen. Transfer complete. $20,000 gone. Just like that sent to fund a celebration I wasn't welcome to attend. A notification popped up from my father. "Thomas." One simple line. "Heard you talked to your mother. Don't take it personally." You know how Grace gets. I typed back before I could think, "It's not Grace. It's you two." Then I deleted it and replaced it with a single word. "Enjoy." The cursor blinked, waiting for more, but there was nothing left to say. The phone screen dimmed. I caught my reflection on the black glass calm, expressionless. It almost looked like someone else staring back, someone learning that silence could be sharper than shouting. Outside, snow pressed against the window, erasing the city lights one by one. For the first time, the thought formed clear and solid in my mind if they didn't want me at their table. Maybe it was time to build my own. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, old Christmas mornings came back, bright and cruel in their perfection. I was 14 the year Grace got the gold bracelet. The whole family crowded around her, my mother kissing her cheek. "You deserve this, sweetheart. You've made us proud." I sat on the floor, half smiling, pretending I didn't care. When all the paper was torn and the ribbons gone, I looked under the tree again. Just to be sure. Nothing had my name. My mother noticed. "You're older now. Lena." "You don't really need toys anymore," I said. "It's fine." But my voice cracked on the last word. That same afternoon, my father called from the kitchen. "Don't forget to help your sister get ready for the party." I was going to work on the science fair project, I said. He looked up, already annoyed. "That can wait. Grace needs you." Grace walked in, curling her hair, smiling like the world belonged to her. "You don't mind." Right, I did, but I nodded anyway. 3 years later, I came home waving a letter with the Stanford seal on it. I had earned a full scholarship, something I had spent months chasing. My father barely glanced at it. "Stanford's far. Grace will stay close to home." "That's better," my mother added. "We'll worry less about her that way." I folded the letter slowly. "You mean you'll worry less about Grace?" I said. My mother frowned. "Don't twist my words." "Lena, you know we love you." "Sure, I said, just not enough to say it out loud. She didn't answer. Grace appeared from the stairs holding a new purse. Guess who got invited to join the cheer team? She said, eyes sparkling. My mother clapped. That's wonderful. We should celebrate tonight. I left the room before anyone noticed, from the hallway. I heard my father laugh, his voice filled with pride that had never been meant for me. Years later, I still saw that scene when I tried to sleep, the glow of the living room, the sound of clinking glasses, Grace spinning under the lights. And there I was, the quiet girl at the small table, holding every unspoken word in my throat while the rest of the house sang her name. By the time I turned 23, I was living on instant noodles and borrowed hope. My company, ClearPath Systems, was one signature away from dying. I hadn't slept for 2 days when I called home, desperate enough to forget my pride. My mother picked up on the third ring. Lena. It's late. What's wrong? I just need to hear your voice. I said. Things are hard. She sighed. Already tired. Grace just put the baby to sleep. Can we talk tomorrow? Tomorrow. Lena. Try to rest. The line clicked before I could answer. The next morning, my father sent a text. Don't overthink. You always worry too much. 3 days later, the hospital signed the trial contract. I stayed at the office, staring at the confirmation email until my eyes burned. That night, I didn't call anyone. 5 years passed like that long hours, cheap food, and a silence from home that felt heavier than failure. When ClearPath finally made it, when the acquisition papers came through for $120 million, I didn't cry. I just sat there, watching the city lights flicker and wondering who, if anyone, would be proud. I called my father that evening. We closed the deal. I said, it's done. He paused. Closed what, the company sale? It's big. I wanted you to know. Oh, he said, sounding distracted. That's nice. Lena, technology's hard to understand, but I'm glad you're doing something. Then he added, almost as an afterthought, your sister's law firm might make partner soon. Isn't that something? It is, I said. Grace's voice came faintly from behind him. Tell her I said congratulations. She says congrats. He repeated, thanks, I said. My throat dry. We'll talk soon. He said, Grace is helping your mother with dinner. The call ended. I sat at my kitchen table, the contract still open on my laptop, my name beside numbers that used to mean survival. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. Later that week, I sent them a photo from a magazine me listed in Forbes 30 under 30. Hours passed. No reply. Finally. Grace texted, saw the article. You always loved being dramatic. I typed back, and you always loved being adored, but I erased it before sending. That night, the city outside glowed like a celebration I hadn't been invited to. For the first time, I understood what it meant to win alone. A week after the call with my father, I drove west until the city disappeared in the rearview mirror. The silence on the road felt cleaner than anything I had known. I wasn't running away. I was searching for somewhere my name didn't echo behind Grace's. When I reached the mountain town of Silverwood, the real estate agent was already waiting. You sure you want this much land? He asked, flipping through papers. 42 acres, I said. Every inch of it. He gave a small laugh. Most people buy cabins. You're building a fortress. Something like that. We signed the contract in his truck, heater humming. The pen shook a little in my hand. My birthday, I realized, had been 2 days ago. No calls, no messages. When the ink dried, I sent the wire transfer and turned off my phone. The agent offered his hand. Congratulations, Ms. Graves. It's a fine start. It's not a start. I said, it's proof. Back in Denver. I told my assistant I'd be gone for a while. She frowned. Vacation construction, I replied. Personal. The first night on the land, the air bit through my jacket. The contractor, a quiet man named Ethan Cross. walked the perimeter with me. "What are you planning?" he asked. "A lodge," I said. "Wood, glass, a place that feels alive. For a business, for a family." He raised an eyebrow. "Big family. Not yet." We walked in silence for a while, boots crunching on the frozen ground. Finally, he said, "You're the first client I've met who sounds like she's building revenge." I turned to him. "No, I'm building peace." He nodded once, understanding more than I expected. The next morning, I called the architect and told her I wanted one feature above all: a single long dining table, big enough for everyone who had ever been pushed aside. When she asked what to name the project, I didn't hesitate. "Hearthstone Lodge," I said. Ethan looked up from his notes. "Hearthstone," he repeated, "like the stone in the heart of a fire." "Exactly," I said, "something that doesn't burn, no matter how hot it gets." A few nights later, I sat in the half-finished dining room of Hearthstone Lodge, the air still smelling of sawdust and cedar. My phone buzzed on the table. It was Clara Whitmore, my cousin. I hadn't spoken to her in months, maybe years. "Lena," she said, her voice carrying a note of surprise. "You okay?" "Define okay," I said. "That bad. My parents decided I don't exist this Christmas." She went quiet for a second. "Wait, you didn't get invited either." "Either," I straightened up. "What do you mean? None of us got the message. Aunt Ruth called this morning, Grandma too. They were told it's immediate family only." Her tone turned dry, which, apparently, means Grace and her perfect little kingdom. I pressed the phone tighter against my ear. Even Grandma. She's furious. Said it hasn't happened in 30 years. For a moment, I didn't say anything. The sound of the wind outside filled the pause between us. Clara broke the silence. "You know what, I'm done playing background character at their parties. If this is how they want it, fine." Something in me shifted. "No," I said, "not fine. They want Christmas to be small. Then let's make our own without them." She hesitated. "You're serious?" "I have a place," I said. "A lodge. It's not finished yet, but it's warm, and it's mine. Come here. Bring whoever wants to remember what family actually feels like." Clara laughed, half disbelief, half joy. "You built a lodge, you've been holding out on us." "Let's call it timing," I said. "You think Grandma would come? She'd pack tonight if you asked." "Ask her," I said. "And Aunt Ruth, and Luke, if he's not snowed in." "Lena," Clara said softly, This might actually save Christmas." "I'm not trying to save it," I said. "I'm rewriting it." She didn't answer for a moment, then whispered, "You sound different." "I am." After the call ended, I sat staring at the phone. The decision had been too easy, too natural. For years, I had waited to be invited. Now I was the one sending invitations. I typed a message to the family group chat: "If you've ever been left out, come to Silverwood. The table here is long enough for everyone." The phone buzzed again almost instantly. Grandma replied first. "Just tell me when to pack." The next morning, I called June Avery, a local chef whose name I'd found in a small-town article about mountain cooking. When she picked up, her voice carried the kind of calm that made you believe in second chances. "June," I said, "I need help planning a Christmas dinner. Not fancy, just real." She laughed softly. "Real I can do." "Who's coming, family?" I said. "The kind that stopped showing up years ago." I like the sound of that. When she arrived later that week, she walked straight into the kitchen and ran her hand over the new walnut counters. "Feels like this place is waiting for people," she said. "That's the plan," I told her. She looked around. "How many guests?" 15 confirmed. I said, "Maybe more." June whistled. "That's not a dinner. Sweetheart, that's redemption." Ethan Cross, my contractor, walked in, wiping his hands on his jacket. "You two plotting a festival now, Christmas?" I said. "A big one." He nodded. "Then we'll need to speed up the fireplace work. People won't stay long if they're freezing." I'll pay overtime, I said. He raised an eyebrow. This about proving something to your folks? No, I said. This is about proving something to myself. June set down her notepad. Then it has to feel like home, not a statement. You build warmth, not spectacle. I paused. You think I'm overdoing it? She smiled. No, I think you're scared they'll forget what you built if it isn't loud enough. Her words landed harder than I expected. I turned away, staring at the window where snow drifted against the glass. You're not wrong, I said. That night, I stayed up late writing notes for each guest. Aunt Ruth loved historical novels. I ordered a stack. Clara's kids liked puzzles. I found one shaped like a snowy city. For Grandma, I bought the expensive herbal tea she'd once said was too much for old bones. When the delivery truck arrived 2 days later, Ethan helped me unload boxes. He pointed at a long wooden crate. What's that? The dining table, I said. Custom made. He pried it open carefully, revealing a polished slab of oak long enough for 20 people. At one end, a brass plaque read, "For anyone who's ever been forgotten." Ethan traced the engraving with his thumb. You sure you're ready for what this means? I think I've been ready my whole life, I said. He nodded slowly. Then we'd better finish this place right? June called from the kitchen, her voice echoing through the hall. Dinner menu set. No one's going home hungry. I smiled for the first time in weeks. For once. I wasn't waiting to be invited. I was the one setting the table. The first car door slammed and Clara hurried in, cheeks flushed, kids clinging to her coat. You actually did it, she said, breathless. You built a place that feels like a yes. I built a table. I said, the rest is up to us. Her son darted past me, then froze at the long oak surface. Mom, our names are on cards. Clara touched one with trembling fingers. You remembered the spelling I like, she whispered. No one ever does. A second car rolled up. Luke stepped inside, guitar strapped to his back. I brought songs, he said, and a very average tenor voice. I want imperfect voices, I said. Perfect ruined us. He laughed, then sobered. If your parents show up mad, I can drown them out with carols. They are not invited tonight, I said. We're starting clean. Aunt Ruth entered last from that wave, arms full of books I had wrapped. You shouldn't have, she said, even as she hugged the stack to her chest. I said that once at a wedding and no one heard me. I heard you. I said, pick any chair you want. Grandma Eleanor arrived after dusk, leaning on a cane she used more for style than balance. Look at you, she said, taking my face in both hands. Your eyes are steady. Your mother never liked steady. I am not asking her permission, I said. You never needed it, she replied. You just needed a room that did not shrink you. June appeared from the kitchen, apron dusted with flour. Sit before the food gets shy, she said. It is better when the room hums. We took our places, one long line of people who had learned how to move aside. I waited until every plate was filled, then stood. Thank you for coming, I said. No speeches. Just this. Luke raised his glass. To the woman who invited us. Aunt Ruth lifted hers. To the table that does not sort people by shine. Clara's boy tugged my sleeve. Where do the kids sit right here? I said, pulling out the chair next to mine. There is only one table. He climbed up, grinning. So, no small table. No small table, I said. Conversation unfurled like a banner. Luke told a story about a winter gig that paid in soup and a second-hand scarf. Aunt Ruth confessed she once hid in a church library during a holiday toast because she could not listen to praise that always skipped the same names. Clara admitted she almost stayed home because she thought Joy would accuse her of being naive. You came anyway. I said, I came because you did not ask me to earn the chair. She replied. June set down a pie with both hands. No one earns a chair, she said. People only decide who is allowed to sit. Ethan slipped in from the hall and nodded at me, then at the plaque at the end of the table. You want me to uncover it? He asked. Go ahead, I said. He pulled the cloth away. The brass words caught the candlelight. For anyone who's ever been forgotten. Grandma drew a breath, slow and fierce. I sat through 30 winters watching polite people forget names they should have remembered, she said. Tonight, I will not be polite. Clara looked at me. Do you want music yet? After dessert, I said. I want the room to hear itself first. We ate until plates were bare and refilled. Luke tuned his guitar and began a simple carol, voice cracking on a high note, and no one flinched. Clara's kids sang half a beat late and half a key off, and Aunt Ruth laughed so hard she cried. Grandma reached for my hand. Her grip was strong. You gave them back their faces, she said. They were never gone. I answered. They were just never centered. She nodded once. Your mother will call, she said. She will say you embarrassed her. I know, I said. She will say you made a scene. Grandma continued. Tell her the scene was a family. Luke finished the song and the room applauded like a secret had been told without shame. Clara stood, shaky with a joy that frightened her a little. I kept waiting for someone to take this away. She said. No one did. No one will. I said. June tapped the table with a spoon. Whoever needs seconds. Speak now or regret later. Aunt Ruth pushed her plate forward. I will not regret, she said. Not tonight. Grandma squeezed my fingers once more and let go. Look, she said, tilting her chin toward the plaque. The forgotten seat is not empty anymore. It is a promise. The morning after the dinner, the house was still heavy with warmth and laughter. Then my phone started vibrating across the table. 6 missed calls from my mother, 4 from my father, 1 message from Grace. I opened it. Really cheap move. Lena, enjoy your little show. I stared at the words until they blurred. Grandma walked in, steady as always, a mug of tea in her hand. They called 10 times. I said. Then answer once, she told me, setting the mug down. I pressed the speaker button and placed the phone on the table. My mother's voice came through sharp and cold. Do you realize what you've done? The entire town is talking about your party. The pastor mentioned it at service this morning. Everyone thinks we've been cut out of our own family. You wrote that it would be just Grace's family. I said. I followed your rule. I kept it small. That's not what I meant, she snapped. You always twist things. We thought you wouldn't want the stress. The stress, I repeated, of being included. She fell silent. My father's voice broke in, low and firm. You've embarrassed your mother. You've made a spectacle. I laughed once, short and bitter. You mean I hosted a dinner that didn't orbit around Grace? You're being unfair, he said. Before I could answer, Grandma leaned forward. No, Thomas. Unfair is 30 years of treating one daughter like a shadow. Unfair is forgetting her name every time Grace sneezed. Mother, my father began. She didn't let him finish. You two built a house where only one child fit at the table. Last night, I sat in a room full of people you left behind, and for the first time, they felt seen. My mother's tone cracked. We never meant to hurt anyone, I said quietly. Intent doesn't erase what happened. The silence that followed was long and uneven. Then my mother whispered, Lena, what do you want from us? Nothing, I said. Not anymore. I ended the call. Grandma reached across the table, resting her hand on mine. Peace and silence are not the same thing, she said. I know. I answered. I finally chose the right one. That afternoon, the family group chat began to light up again. Clara sent the first message. The kids haven't stopped talking about the ranch. Next year, same place. Then, Luke, I'll bring the band. Even the bad singer wants in. Aunt Ruth replied with a photo of her stack of books and a glass of wine. This feels like the Christmas we should have had all along. I read every line slowly. No one mentioned my parents. Not once. Grandma sent her message last. The chair at the end of the table, keep it. Some stories still need a place to sit. I looked across the room where the plaque shone faintly in the firelight. For anyone who's ever been forgotten, the chair stood empty, but it didn't feel lonely. It felt like space for whoever decided to stop pretending and finally show up. Ethan walked in, gloves tucked under his arm. "You still answering messages, trying to," I said. "There's a lot of love in the noise." He nodded toward the plaque. "That seat, you leaving it open again next year?" "Yes," I said. "Always." He smiled. "Then you did what you came here to do." Clara called a few minutes later, voice bubbling through the speaker. "Grandma wants to make it a tradition, every year, the Hearthstone Christmas." "She can have it," I said. "It's hers as much as mine." Clara hesitated. "What about your parents?" "They know where to find the road," I said, "but they'll have to walk it this time." When the call ended, I stood by the fireplace and listened to the quiet. For once, it wasn't heavy. The silence had shifted. It was no longer the sound of being left out. It was the sound of having chosen who belonged. The chair waited, steady and patient, and I finally understood it wasn't empty at all. It was full of everything that had led me here. A week after the calls stopped, I sent one short message to my parents and Grace dinner at the lodge. Just us. They came near sunset. No gifts, no smiles, only the sound of snow under their shoes. My father spoke first. "The place is impressive," my mother added, "different from what I imagined." Grace said nothing, her hands buried in her coat pockets. We sat at the same oak table, stripped of decorations. Only 4 plates. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I just need to speak without being interrupted." My father nodded once. I told them everything, the Christmases where I sat waiting, the nights I worked until morning just to feel seen, the years of silence that weighed more than failure. When I stopped, the room stayed still. My mother's voice broke the quiet. "Maybe I made you think I wasn't proud. I was. I just never said it right." Grace finally looked up. "You didn't have to build all this to prove something." "I didn't build it to prove anything." I said, "I built it so no one would feel invisible again." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes softened. "Before leaving." She placed a small photograph on the table, 2 girls at a snow-covered park, arms tangled in laughter. I didn't move it. After they left, I sent a message to the family group chat next year. "Hearthstone will be open. Whoever truly wants to come, there will always be a seat."